The debate continues between the 4% rule that's been used for decades and Dave Ramsey's 8% rule. So let's look at his numbers. Let's go ahead and do $1 million with a 4% COLA, and we're going to take out 8% a year. And we see if we do that for every single year, I've run the numbers 35 times, you would run out of money in the last 100 years. Some of the other years, you'd be in great shape. 36 times, you still have over $1 million. 29 times, you have over $2 million. So we're not saying every year, but enough to be concerning. 35 times in the last 100 years. Somebody said, well, you don't give it a COLA then. Well, the thing is, when you're planning your retirement, and like Dave Ramsey even said, he allowed for a 4% COLA. If you go from 67.50 and you go to a 0% COLA, then all of a sudden you're just getting 67.50 every year. It's not going up. So inflation is going to really make a dent in your living expenses. 10 years down the road, you're still just getting 67.50. So I'll go ahead and run those numbers with no COLA. I think that's not realistic to run it. It's keeping it at 6.75. So we're going to have 12 times you still run out of money. And I want to show you these numbers using Dave Ramsey's 12%. So there's 12 times you would have run out of money, even with no COLA. But here's Dave's numbers over here. The average return, 12%. So you start out with $1 million. You're taking out that 8%, which is 80,000. First year, you're going to, after 12% return, you're going to get 1.120 million. Taking out 80,000, you're left with this. You take out 8% of this, which gives you a raise of up to 83,000, which is actually a 4% COLA if you run the numbers. That's why I said he ran at a 4% COLA. But each year you're getting 12% and you're only taking out 8%. Look how fast it accumulates. This is how much you could be taking out per year with a 12% return. You'd be up to 200,000 in about 10 years. I want to look at somebody who gets one of these down years that we've been talking about. One of these right here, or right over here, we can look at it. I want to look at, of course, we're going to look at the worst case scenario just to show you this. Now, that's not the only one we'll look at, but if you start out in your initial years, they call this a sequence of return risk. If you start out with some down years, for example, in this case, starting out with $1 million, the market goes down 8.42%. You're taking out the 8%, starting out with the 66.70, which is 80,000 a year. After that first year, you're down to 835, 800. So let's just keep it 8% of the remaining balance. That's what we're doing over here. Let's do it over here just to be consistent. Okay, that next year you're taking out 55.72, which is 8% of this. The market goes down again. You take it and by the way, you're only getting 66,000. Well, over here in Dave's scenario, you're getting 83,000. But you're down to 560,000 after the second year. The third year, you take 8% of that, you're only able to take out 3,739. Remember, you were planning on 67, and you were planning on that going up by several percent COLA each year. But now you're down to 3,379. You're still going down. In the fourth year, you're only allowed to take out 1,819. Remember, you were going to take out 66, 67 and have that going up. So after the fourth year, you're only able to take out 21,000. Over here in Dave's scenario, you're taking out 104,000 using Dave's numbers. But see how important it is, those initial years. And that's why we look at these down years. You have to really be careful. Let's look at a couple other of these down years. Let's look at 1973, where you had 2 down years in a row. Again, what's happening in those initial years? 1973, given the same scenario, Dave doesn't care because he's still getting his 12%. In this case, the market's down 14%, down 26%. You start out with that same 66, 67, which is 80,000 a year. After that market goes down, you're down to 773. It drops again. You're already only able to take 5,156 out, which is 8% of this. Now you're down to half of what you started with. The first 2 years, you're down to 506,000. So the third year, you're allowed to take out 3379, which would be 8% of the remaining balance. Over here, 8% of the remaining balance for Dave, he's getting 93,000. You're down to 40,000 a year. But if you're being really realistic here, would you really be able to survive on half of what you were planning on 2 years into your retirement? That's why sequence of return is so important. That's why you can't just look at this 12% return, because in that scenario, Yeah, all your money's just going to keep going up. But if you have some down years, if you have, let's go to the year 2000. This should show you. Again, there's just certain years that if they start out down, you're going to be running out of money. Either that, or you're going to have to cut way back on how much you're taking. 3,300 instead of the 66 you were planning on. If you kept with the 6,600, that's when you start running out of money even quicker. But if you go down here, you're going to have to really cut back. But let's look at one other year. That's the year 2000. Again, 3 down years. Start out at 66, 67. 80,000 the first year, just like Dave is. The second year, you're down to 8% of this is 5527, which is 66,320. Meanwhile, Dave's taking out 83,200, and his is still going up. This is going down. And after the third year, you're down to $3,095 a month. When you were planning on 66, 67, going up by the inflation rate. But you're down to this, so you're taking out 37,000. Yeah, your money's going to last. If you can you live with this scenario, your money will last because you're only taking out 8% each year, so you're always left with 92% of your previous balance. So you're down to 560,000. You're taking out 37,000 a year. Meanwhile, over here, Dave's taking out 104,000 because he's living in a world of 12%. That's why it's so important to monitor what's going on those initial years. That's why we said you are going to run out of money some of these years. Other years, you're going to be in great shape. Look at this, 55 times in the last 100 years, given this scenario, not giving yourself a COLA, you're going to have over $1 million. Anyway, hopefully these numbers make sense to you and why we really need to consider the sequence of return risk, why you can't just go with an automatic 12%. Oh, we'll just take 8% out and we'll be in fine shape. No, not if you have some initial down years, even if you take 8% off of the remaining balance, which is he's doing it over here. But down here, your balance is going down so fast, you're going to be left with $3,000 a month when you were planning on this kind of money going into retirement. Our channel is called Million Dollars Made Easy. Hopefully, this helps educate you that why the 4% rule is so much better. Because the 4% rule, you run the 4% rule and you don't run out of money at all. But you go up to 8% rule. Sometimes, if you have these initial down years, you will run out of money or have to drastically cut back on how much you're taking out. Like in this case, 3,000 instead of 6,600. Our channel is called Million Dollars Made Easy. Please consider subscribing. Um, YouTube algorithms can really look at how many people are subscribing, how many people are watching, how many people are liking it. So you can really help this channel if you would subscribe and like the channel and share it with others. Thanks for watching.